What if the end of a civilization isn't really the end of the story? Today, we're diving into a pretty radical theory that says civilizations don't just get reborn, they get reset through this powerful, hidden process. I mean, think about it. It's a huge question. When everything falls apart, and I mean a real, world-ending catastrophe, what happens then? Where do the first seeds of the next society even come from?
You know, the usual idea is that the survivors are basically thrown back to the Stone Age. They have to reinvent fire, reinvent the wheel, and just slowly, painfully climb their way back up from absolute scratch. But what if that whole idea is just wrong?
This quote right here. This is the heart of what we're digging into. The source material for this explainer argues that rebirth isn't some slow crawl out of the mud. No, it's a sudden, almost explosive event. A collision between two very, very different groups of survivors.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this idea of a collision, we have to start by looking at some of the biggest unsolved puzzles in our own history. You know, these moments where humanity just seems to take this impossible leap forward, practically overnight. So why did farming and cities just pop up all over the world at roughly the same time? What was the deal with that explosion of incredible art and complex symbolism about 40,000 years ago? And what really happened to the Neanderthals? According to this theory, these aren't three separate questions. They all share one single, pretty mind-bending answer.
All right, here's the foundational idea. After a global collapse, humanity doesn't just revert to one type of survivor. It splits. It goes down two totally divergent paths.
So, on one side, you get the above-ground reverters. These guys basically rewild. They become masters of the new broken earth, living in small, adaptable hunter-gatherer groups. Then, on the other side, you have the subterranean descendants. They become the keepers of a flickering flame, retreating into these isolated enclaves, bunkers, caves, you name it, to preserve tiny fragments of the lost world's knowledge.
And over thousands and thousands of years, these two paths create two profoundly different kinds of humans. One group is honed by the wild. They become physically tough, super adaptable, and just masters of intuitive ecological knowledge. The other group is shaped by confinement. They're selected for their ability to follow complex rules, maintain ancient rituals, and protect fragile, broken technology. They literally start to think and act differently.
So you've got these two branches of humanity, separated for millennia. They've become almost alien to each other. And then, eventually, they meet. This is the collision. This is what the theory calls the hybridization event.
And this is the absolute key. Neither group can rebuild civilization on their own. No way. The Descendants have the blueprints, maybe some seeds and symbols, but they don't have the numbers or the practical skills to survive in the new world. The Reverters, they've got the numbers and the skills, but they have no memory of how to build something bigger. They need each other.
So their merger is not just a blending of people. It creates something totally new. A new cultural species, as it's called here, with a new cognitive operating system. We're talking about a whole new way of seeing and organizing the world. This is the real engine of rebirth. So with this model of collision and fusion locked in our minds, let's go back to those historical puzzles we started with and see if they suddenly start to click into place.
Okay, let's take on the Neanderthal enigma first. What if they weren't some separate species that we wiped out? What if they were a previous cycle's ritualistic, cave-dwelling descendants? And what if early modern humans were the scrappy, adaptable reverters? If that's the case, their meeting wasn't a war of extinction. It was a hybridization event. And here's the thing. We have the genetic proof. Up to 4% of the DNA in modern non-African people is Neanderthal. That's not just a random number. It's the genetic ghost of that ancient merger. It's a permanent record of them being absorbed right into our own family tree.
And this could explain our second puzzle. Right after this period of interaction, you see this symbolic explosion in the archaeological record. A sudden, massive leap in sophisticated cave art, complex tools, burial rituals, the whole shebang. It's like that new cognitive operating system was finally booting up, born from the fusion of two totally different ways of thinking.
But the evidence isn't just in our genes or our tools. According to this theory, it's baked into our oldest stories. Our myths aren't just fanciful tales. They are a kind of cultural memory.
And the pattern is it's astonishingly consistent all around the world. You've got the Hopi emerging from the underworld, the Sumerian Apkallu, these wise fishmen, sages coming from the sea. The stories repeat. It's a global echo of the same event, a knowledgeable group emerging from some hidden place to teach the surface dwellers the arts of civilization. This is the memory of descendants meeting reverters.
And this brings us right to our final puzzle. That so-called Neolithic revolution, the sudden appearance of farming in cities, well, maybe it wasn't a slow invention from scratch. Maybe it was a hybridization surge, the direct result of these two groups finally merging their unique skill sets.
Think of it like a simple equation for civilization. It's this powerful synergy. You get agriculture by merging the reverters' deep, practical knowledge of ecology with the descendants' preserved seeds in farming rituals. You get cities by fusing the reverters' big, thriving population with the descendants' ancient knowledge of hierarchy and social structure.
So what we're really looking at here isn't just a theory about one or two ancient events. It's a completely new model for how human history itself works, in cycles.
This is how it all ties together. Those sudden leaps in technology, the birth of agriculture, the truth about the Neanderthal fusion, those global myths about culture bringers, they're not separate puzzles anymore. They're all just signs of the same underlying process, the great cycle of collapse, divergence, and then hybridization.
So the most important point is this. Civilization is reborn from the fusion of its two most essential survival strategies. You've got the pragmatic, adaptive impulse that masters the present moment, and you've got the preserving, symbolic impulse that carries the wisdom of the past. One simply cannot build the future without the other.
And all of this leaves us with one final and pretty provocative question. If this cycle of collapse, divergence, and fusion is the real engine of history, it kind of forces us to ask, in which phase of the cycle do we find ourselves today?